All right, welcome back to another Rage's Ramblings. And of course, this week I am going to talk about active versus passive guitar pickups.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Now, hope you enjoyed the little intro piece. I know it's just kind of focusing on really one kind of metal tone, and I did that for a reason. And that's to display the difference in pickups is not very noticeable with a high gain amp. So normally I would use my rev stuff, but for that comparison, I actually wanted to use a very generic sound, which is a Mesa Dual Rectifier going into a 412 cab with vintage 30 speakers, which is a very generic sort of metal sound in today's metal world. So I wanted to kind of display that kind of sound using that setup. And as you won't be able to tell there's much of a difference as you pan through each one. And that's one of my quirks about active pickups versus passive pickups, is that there isn't a big difference between them. Now, my history with active pickups, of course, passive pickups have been around forever. They're what started everything. I first started using active pickups in the 90s, and it wasn't because I know there was like Metallica was using EMGs, and there was a few artists like Zakk Wylde and whatnot using EMGs, but it was actually Machine Head that got me starting to use active pickups, EMGs, because I wanted to be able to get those harmonic noises that they were getting, the harmonic sounds that you could get easily. And I say easy because with active pickups, those dynamics come out easier, and that's sort of the benefit of active pickups. But the one thing about the active pickups that I've never liked is the fact that you've always had to use a battery. And if you leave your guitar plugged in, your battery can die on you, which happens. It's happened to me. So that's kind of one of my quirks about having to use active pickups, is that 9-volt battery that is in the guitar. Now, big thing about the guitar tones for me, and that I've always more enjoyed passive pickups. And it's been more the tone than anything. The classic set of the Seymour Duncan JB and Jazz is my favorite combo set. I've had a lot of guitars over the years with those pickups, mainly the Jackson guitars I've had. Even my USAs all came with those factory. And I've always found that those are the most versatile pickups for more than just metal, for doing a lot of different styles, especially the JB. I know some guys in the neck position prefer the 59 over the Jazz, but I've always found the Jazz passive pickup from Seymour Duncan to be a little bit more smoother, especially in the low end, a little smoother. And I've always preferred the passive pickups that way. Now, I've also used DiMarzios in my past, especially the Evolution. I've really liked Steve Vai's signature Evolution. I've had those in some Ibanez guitars that I've had, as well as when they came out with the Deactivator. Now, the Deactivator was supposed to be a passive guitar pickup with active characteristics. Now, the thing I found, it had a lot of high end, a lot of presence, which I found DiMarzio pickups have a lot of presence to them, and that they can cut through mix well. And that's part of the reason why I like the Evolution. It just lacked a little bit of the low end, the same as the Deactivator. So I've never been big on the DiMarzios, except for the Tone Zone and Air Norton set. They're pretty good. They're very similar, I found, to the JB and Jazz combo, so I haven't mind them as much. I had them on one guitar at one time, but they were okay. And then as far as I've used a lot of bridge pickups over the years. As far as Seymour Duncan, I've had the Seymour Distortion. I've actually have it in my red Jackson still. I've used the Custom 5, which I currently have in my old school Passmore Flying V, Custom V. I had it in my Les Paul at one time when I was going for more of that vintage PAF that was really hot. They say PAF on steroids, which kind of had that characteristic. But as far as the active pickups, I've actually preferred the Seymour Duncan Blackouts over the EMG 81, 85 combo that I've gotten in a few guitars. I've liked the fact that with the Easy Connect, I've actually been able to switch out to the Blackouts. I really enjoy for metal tones, especially where you want that sort of, I won't call it sterile, but you want that consistent tone, but that's a little more compressed. Like active pickups are more compressed than a passive pickup, which in a lot of especially with high gain, it works really well. It can really make your rhythm tone very consistent, is one thing that I really liked about it. But like I said, the one big gripe I have is that it does not do clean sounds very well. I actually recently had a rehearsal where I was using my new M-1000, and it's got the Fishman Fluence. Now, I'm still unsure about these pickups. I really like them for the clarity. To me, the clarity, the presence that they have reminds me a lot of DiMarzio's. They have that high-end, real clear presence to them. But and the voice too, actually, which is interesting. In my 80s hair metal cover band, I've actually enjoyed the Voice 2 more than the Voice 1. I think that the Voice 1 would work really better in metal, like a just pure modern metal. But for more of a classic rock, classic metal sound, the Voice 2's been better, where at least it's not driving the amp. It doesn't sound like it's driving the amp as much. I know they're manufactured differently than other pickups. There's no actual magnets in them, or there is magnets, but they're not wound. They're not wound. So it's a little bit different in the way they're manufactured, and that you can EQ them the way you want. And I just haven't, I'm still working with it. I'm still trying to really find where I like the Fishman Fluence Moderns, but I'm not enjoying the clean sound. And when we were just rehearsing the last weekend, I know one song, I had a couple of songs I have to switch to a clean tone, and it's just too brittle sounding. And that's the one thing about active pickups. I just find that they're too brittle. So I'm going to do a little comparison, same guitars as the intro, and I'm going to do a simple clean sound of each. All right, so that's my comparison for today, my discussion between active and passive pickups. Now, I feel that for the most part, active pickups are great for modern metal. They're great for high distortion. They're great for lower tunings, especially. Great for the natural harmonics that you can get from the guitar, especially when you want to do dive bombs and do a lot of like Dimebag Darrell-esque type of things. But for the most part, I don't feel like they do clean tones very well. There's just too much presence, too much clarity in a way that they don't clean up. They're not warm.
So cold.
And that's probably the biggest gripe that people will have, is that they don't have a warmth. They're more of a sterile sound to active pickups. And I agree in a great part. But for modern metal, you sort of want that sound, except when you want a clean tone, you got to have a guitar with more cleans. Or I know like Zakk Wylde used to roll back his pickup volume a bit when he would use a clean tone. Maybe I need to get into using that kind of thing. I don't know, maybe. But for the most part, passive pickups for me still win for the most part. playing especially anything other than metal, when you want to even have just an edge of breakup sound, clean tones, they still do metal really well. Classic pickup was a JB, used by a lot of people for many years, from, you know, Dave Mustaine, Scott Ian. A lot of these guys used it for many years until recently, where they've started going other routes of playing other pickups. And I've seen a lot lately, a lot of people are using the new Fishman Fluence pickups, and I'm still trying to figure them out. I'm still trying to understand if I like them or not. Still trying to work with them. I do like the versatility of having the two voicings, for example. I know I've got the pickup, I've just bought the set with, it's got the third voice in them with single tones, but the fact that I still don't find that they're as warm as I would like them to be as a passive pickup, so I'm not sure if I would even use it in that instance. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out for my next guitar purchase, whether or not I would go active or passive pickups for the next one, because that is going to make a factor, especially when it comes to the wiring. You have to gut the guitar, rewire, just like I'm currently doing with my white Randy Rhodes, and trying to figure out if I want to go active or passive with that guitar. I haven't even made up my mind yet. So I'm still trying to figure that out. So maybe in the next while I will figure it out, and I'll have a video on that as well. That's my opinion for this week. I'm also going to have a video at the end of the same demo as the intro, where I take out the drums and the bass, and take the EQ out of the rhythm guitars, and you're going to get just the guitars by themselves. And maybe you can hear more of a difference, but once you get it into a full mix, add EQ, pickups don't sound all that much different, do they? Let me know your comments below. Let me know your opinions on if you prefer active or you prefer passive pickups. I'm really curious. So anyway, until next week, hope you enjoyed it. This has been Rage's Ramblings. Take care. Bye.